Good morning, second year students. Today we are here to discuss William Faulkner's short story that is Dry September, and it was first published in a magazine known as Scribner's Magazine in the year 1931. Now, if we talk a little bit about Faulkner, he is a famous writer from the America South, and the history, politics, and socio-cultural aspect of America South has been extensively discussed when we were doing Tennessee Williams' class menagerie in class. So by that you have a little bit idea about the socio-political and cultural atmosphere or ambience of America South, especially in the 19th and the early 20th century. So here too, if we summarize the short story, we come to know that, like what America South is famous for, not famous for as in the literature of America South is very much it revolves around a certain matter because it is historically very important for that region, and that is the slave narrative, and of with slave narrative the relationship between the African Americans and white Americans of the region. So here too, when we look at the summary of the story, very important characters. There are not many important characters, but people to look at is of course Will Mays. Will Mays is an African American. His identity, his racial identity is important. Then another person important here is Miss Minnie Cooper, a white American woman. A white American woman, her gender and her race is important. Then we have McClendon, John McClendon. Now, McClendon is a white American male. So he is white, he is a male. Now, then we come on to Hawkshaw the barber, and his ethnicity is not clear. Perhaps he might be a white, but of course sympathetic to the African Americans or the so-called blacks. Now, why is their gender and identity being emphasized by me? It is because it forms the center, it forms the focal point for the entire plot of the story. Now, the story is divided into 5 parts. The first part starts in a barber's shop. The barber is Henry Hawkshaw, of course, and small towns where gossip circulates in a small town, one place will be a barber shop. But the narrator opens the the narrator opens the story and describes that how Jefferson, the town's name is Jefferson, has not seen rain for 62 days. So the narration starts with 62 rainless days. So in September, it's a very, very dry season. It's neither winter nor it is monsoon. So in September, a very, very dry month, September, there has not been rain for 62 days. So it's a very hot, scorching weather. And weather is very important throughout the story because somehow people, the characters, give weather as an excuse for their uncivilized manners, for their brutality. Somehow they blame the weather. Somehow they say that it is because of the scorching heat that people are frustrated, they are losing their senses, and somehow they are channelizing the frustration in somebody else. Now, coming back to the gossip that is going on in the barber shop, what does the gossip go like is that Miss Minnie Cooper the white female, a middle-aged unmarried woman, has been sexually molested. Her dignity, her honor has been violated. As according to them, it has been violated by Will Mays, the African American. And somehow Hawkshaw tries to defend Will Mays and tries to reason out with the fact that Will Mays cannot do such an act. However, as I already told you, John McLendon, the famous macho, hypersexual white man, is also present among them, and uh, he totally resents Hawkshaw's claims and even accuses Hawkshaw of being a nigger lover. Now, the word nigger is an offensive term used by the whites to insult the blacks. So, segregation of the American community, in especially in America's South, on the basis of race can be seen, can be clearly seen in this story. So, at one hand, there is the privileged white, and on the other hand, there is the non privileged, the marginalized blacks. And we have discussed this earlier in class. This inequality, this underprivilegedness, this biasness goes back to the slave history of African Americans. So the slave narratives of African Americans will give you a clearer picture of this biasness, this prejudice among the whites when it comes to the black, of them being inferior or the white being superior to the blacks. So McLendon here tells everybody present in the barber shop that if they question Miss Minnie Cooper, then they are not being faithful to their community. Community here means the white community. So this idea of McLendon blindly trusting Miss Minnie Cooper comes from this concept of the white goddess. A white woman, because of her race and her gender, is considered a white delicate lily. You know the flower lily, isn't it? It's very white and it's very delicate. So according to the American society, the males, mind you, this was 19th century, it's not contemporary times, all right, 19th or early 20th century. So the white society, the white American society, believed that the male, the white male, is bound to protect these delicate, fragile, beautiful white women. So nobody was supposed to question, or a white woman was immune to being interrogated. Whatever she said would be the final call, especially when it came to the other party being Africans, African Americans, or black, the so-called black people. So here the accused is a black man who is being charged, who is being accused, alleged of sexually molesting a white woman. So if you look at the power play out here, since Will Mays is a powerless person, he is racially powerless, he has no privilege, he has no say in the power structure, the power hierarchy. So people quickly jump on to accuse him. And McLendon makes sure that every white male sitting at that barber shop is provoked or invoked into protecting the white woman, into protecting these delicate women that they so much value. So then the narration shifts to Miss Minnie Cooper. Now, Miss Minnie Cooper herself is a victim of her own sexual frustration. Although she was a beautiful woman when she was young, she never got married. And in order to affirm her youth, mind you, in order to forever remain young, she liked to spread gossip about her, about people, about these false stories where she is the object of affection and desire. Now, why is it so? Very important. So the best part about this story is no character is dark. Everybody is gray. Miss Minnie herself is a victim of social prejudice, a patriarchal society that never gave her an opportunity to study, so she has no intellectual preoccupations. Her only preoccupation is to feed on rumors of the town. And also she does not, because it's society is very ageist. Age of a woman is very, very important. It is given a lot of significance, so she wants to remain young forever. Although her age will not approve of it, she has made up her mind to think of herself as a young woman who is very much sexually desired by many male of the society, of that community. So that is how we know, that is what we know about Miss Minnie Cooper. Nevertheless, the story is taken forward, and we come to know that they drive on a car, and Hawkshaw does not want to be a part of this lynching. A very important word, mob lynching, happens. Now what Hawkshaw, I will just finish this, then go back to mob lynching. So what happens to this Will Mace's character? It is not law that is, because they work against the law of America. Now, the law of America said, or any democratic country says, that everybody is equal in the eyes of law, no matter which caste, community, religion, gender you belong to, or class. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be a man or a woman. So rule of law applies to everyone. However, they take law in their hand and they decide to punish this black man. There is a lot of racial prejudice when it comes to punishing the man, Will Mace. They have been conditioned, these white men who go on to punish Will Mace without a proper process of law, without even knowing whether the allegations against him is true or false. They decide to take law in their hand and punish him. Why? Simply because of their racial prejudice. They have been conditioned right from their young age to hate a black person, to hate somebody who is not of white color. This is very, very important. So they take law in their hand, they drive in the evening, and it's very beautifully described how the twilight, also the nature, there is pathetic fallacy, because nature also turned into, the entire sky was painted red that day. Twilight or dusk also happened in such a way that it was painted red, and red is of course the color of blood. As we already know, blood that was about to be shed of Will Mace. So they drive, and he is lynched badly, of course, and killed. He loses his life. So coming back, what is mob lynching? Now the entire mob means the crowd. When the entire crowd take law in their hand and decide to punish someone. That is known as mob lynching. Everybody goes to a singular person and start beating them up, and no charge can be pressed